Welcome back again, everybody. Word Traction Podcast. This is SpaceX got your wallet and Elon stole the nation's soul. Our good friend, Elon Musk, your friend and mine, had the most wonderfully successful IPO in the galaxy's history yesterday. And so we should applaud him. We should, right? Because we're fellow humans in a capitalist society, and bigger being better. I think I'm trying to channel back to my youth when I still had that kind of idealism. But in reality, what Elon Musk did was he used his the size of his company and his connections, not insignificantly, with the White House to force some of the exchanges to change their rules to accommodate his IPO. What that means is that SpaceX will become part and parcel to many mutual funds and other financial instruments in a much more rapid manner than they would otherwise. There are a lot of MAGA red hat wearing financial geniuses that offer a truism, which is, well, if you're opposed, if you hate Elon, what you can do is you can construct your own financial instrument, your own mutual fund, if you don't like this particular one, and exclude all of Elon's companies, if that makes you happy. I mean, if you're that mad, then you can do that, and that's fine. You're allowed to. And what that does, much like the exchanges capitulating to Elon, following the advice of such uh, Trump apologists that are on Bloomberg and other places on a regular basis, is that is akin to material support of terrorism. Meaning, if you capitulate to Elon Musk and the rest of the tech bros, which we'll get on to some of them a little bit later. If you let them get their way just because they laid buck ass naked on the White House lawn for the entertainment of Donald J. Trump, a retired fucking game show host, and have done everything they can do, licked every part of every boot that he's ever worn, and behaved in a absolutely embarrassing and humiliating way ever since the inauguration. That's Tim Cook. That's Mark Zuckerberg. That is Jeff DJ Jazzy Jeff Bezos, and all of the rest of the idiots and former the before the tech bros. Of course, it was the PayPal mafia, which was Elon, Peter Thiel, who is Peter Thiel is, you can think of him as JD Vance's godmother, right? So Peter Thiel kind of walked JD Vance into the White House, into the Trump administration, into showed the spotlight on him as a rising star because JD worked for Peter Thiel in California before he was in the Senate. And so the fairy godmother, Peter Thiel, brought Vance in, and with other tech bro types, and with the help of David Sachs, who's also President Trump's tech advisor, came from the same South African slash German. If you talked anymore like those idiots, like the terrorists, dating myself here, Lethal Weapon 2, when the South African they kidnapped whatever. Put it on your put it on your list if you missed Lethal Weapon 2. I know that we don't like Mel Gibson anymore because he did bad things, and he got a gun license. Mel Gibson Mel Gibson had his gun license taken away because of domestic violence issues, and the Trump administration put pressure on the pardon attorney who is on this very platform here, and I'm just blanking on her name, but it'll come back to me eventually. She is m- brilliant, more brilliant than I am because, well, she can remember her name because it's hers. Liz Oyer, who is has a fantastic Substack. If you are not following Liz Oyer, you should do it now, right after this show, because she has beautiful and very thoughtful insights into the absolutely batshittery of what's going on with Donald Trump's endless chain of pardons and commutations. And this is the woman that ran that function for the Justice Department when we had an actual Justice Department back in the I was going to say Biden 1.0, but there was only one. Yeah. So this crew of geniuses, and I am not anti-capitalist. I am not anti I am anti-fascist, and Elon Musk qualifies. Whether you think J.D. Vance's godmother Peter Thiel is a fascist or not, or David Sachs or any of the other ones, Donald Trump was at one time was not a fascist, but he is behaving right now and displaying fascist tactics and behaviors every single day. So I don't want to do a cart horse chicken egg uh, pot calling kettle black thing. If you behave like a fascist, you probably smell like one, which ain't good. Then you are a fascist. So Trump isn't, but we know Elon. Elon on the same day, or we'll say in the same week that he's doing a 2 trillion, rounding it off, dollar an IPO that values SpaceX at two trillion. He was fomenting violence in a number of countries. He does this on a daily basis through his platform X. Most recently in Northern Ireland, right? So there was a killing, and the man that eventually was arrested in the end was the actual assailant that claimed to the police that the victim was the instigator, and it was Belfast. It was a bad scene all the way around. And if you haven't had the pleasure of doing a shallow dive on a shallow man named Tommy Robinson, he is one of the more repulsive neo-Nazis in Great Britain, and he's even further to the right than uh, Farage. He is a truly dangerous individual, and he is the kind of man that runs into a protest, turns it into a riot, and then lights everything on fire and goes home. And he does that on a daily basis. And this is one of Elon Musk's primary pen pals. And at the same time, Musk is an advocate for Putin, alternating between advocate and apologist for Putin. He is sowing dissent and discontent in Germany in between the state elections. We've talked about before on a number of episodes how crucial these state elections are, just the way that Germany is set up. And the most important ones are coming up in in Saxony isn't till September, but the polls and the momentum is clearly with the AFD. And what will happen if in one particular state they get a clear majority, then the AFD will be able to change. They're not changing the national government, but they'll be able to change, the top cop in the state. Therefore, they will be that AFD appointee will be privy to the national reporting and data and intelligence from the state intelligence services regarding extremism when they are the extremists in chief in the entire country of Germany. So it's a bad scene, and they're doing just well enough, and where when they competed the last time, they were getting 20% of the vote. Now they're coming back and they're getting 30%. And and they're not a two-party system, so the grain is spread more evenly over the floor. It's deeply troubling in Germany, and you might remember that a number of years ago, if you're thinking about the mothership for the Nazi Party, you you'd be half right, because you could reasonably argue that that was actually born and still ablaze in parts of Austria too. Reasonable argument. But it's bad for Germany. It's bad for Germans. It's horrible for the EU. It's bad for NATO. And you have J.D. Vance and Trump stoking the flames from over here and directing funding to the we'll call them the Nazi Party for tonight to make it simple. And then less than a year later, we have the elections in France, and Elon Musk is doing the exact same thing. In With Marine Le Pen, there's going to be a court decision very soon where she will be told that no, you are still barred from elections for, I think it would be 4 more years, 3 more years. But in any case, her leading deputy would run, and the sentiment, the right, the white Christian nationalist sentiment, the racism and Islamophobia that is also burning bright in France, is likely to put them, and that's a national election. That means that by before this time next year, you could have a right wing government in control in Paris. So that is, and there are a lot of little bits and pieces. We have some strong champions on our side in Spain and elsewhere. But it's if you tip Germany and France, and we know that England is teetering. Keir Starmer has just lost his defense guy, resigned this past week, and he didn't go away quietly. He said, "Yeah, because I got to go because I don't have any money and I don't have any confidence that Keir Starmer knows what he wants to do with the national defense. No offense, but summer, I'm out." So he he didn't burn his bridges. He detonated them and then spilled gas on the remnants and lit it on fire, and then mailed it to Keir's wife. It was it's been tough sledding uh, for number 10 Downing Street's current resident. He's not having a lot of fun. Yeah, so that's in all these places, including Farage, including Robinson, including AFD in Germany, and including the Rally, the far right party in France. Be in the background or foreground or shaking hands with all of these people is Elon Musk, and supporting them on Twitter. And what he does best, he would tell you, he's destroying their competition. So he allows the bots to sow dissent amongst their opponents. And as happened most recently and most uh, the best illustration of this, the images from the fighting in the streets of Belfast, as it was like memories of my youth when there was the Troubles in Ireland, and there was very violent confrontations on a regular basis, and bombings, and it was a very it's, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. But this is Tommy Robinson's just bad news, and he has a following, and he has. If you think about the fact that Elon Musk put over $250 million into Donald Trump's campaign fund, right? Um, real money to me, at least, not perhaps not to you. I shouldn't speak for you. It's it was what 200 $280 million, some real amount of money. And now that he's a trillionaire, and the guys that he runs with that are also at least white Christian nationalists, if not more extreme than that, and he can just toss around those funds, and you have Trump and then JD just pointing fingers at the leaders of the PACs in the United States and say, "Boy, it would really increase my chances of doing well in the States if you made sure that the German candidate was victorious. Can you send them in? Do you have, because buying an election in Germany is a lot less expensive than buying it here. Right? Unless you're talking about, Texas and California are their own thing, and it's almost like buying an entire country's election. But if you're doing South America, which is not really comparable in that sense, but it's a lot easier to buy a diplomat or a president or a prime minister. It's a lot cheaper. But to buy an election with the influence of, imagine walking into any country in the world except for China. Russia's different, of course, because Russia is, Putin is actually pulling the Trump strings, but he's not. Isn't controlling Xi Jinping. And just being able to walk into any country and say, this really matters. And he can call Larry Ellison and Elon Musk. And then you have the full force of TikTok and X, and probably for another couple 100 million, Mark Zuckerberg, and you have FBuck and IG and WhatsApp, all arrayed against you. Messages about the fact that we applaud the fact that you beat your 4 bottle a day drinking habit, and we wish you luck getting over your fentanyl addiction. Uh, you know, so good luck. Just spreading rumors, as we talked about 2 days ago. Just that the power of repetition. You repeat a lie consistently over a long duration, and then people start to doubt what the actual truth is. It goes way back, but it's been perfected uh, by um, by our friend Vladimir Putin, as he showed first with Viktor Orban in Hungary, and then with Donald Trump 3 times. Middle election didn't work out so well, but he missed by a very narrow margin in um, in 2020. It could have happened. And that was the plan, and they miscalculated. And as I've talked about before, it's instructive to look at the difference, the difference between the two men. I mean, Putin has a long relationship with Trump. Just It's amazing that Putin could move all of those people, just like Trump Tower right now is, excuse me, Trump Towers is, has as many FIFA execs in it right now as it used to have members of Russian state security. There's still some there. There's still a couple of units that are occupied by Russian oligarchs that allow Russian state security to use that, and the rest of them spend most of their time in Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, and some really delicious high-rise condominium buildings. Very elegant, great F&B, beautiful beaches, uh, spas, and then there's actually a Russian. Um, I was going to say a Russian massage parlor, but that wasn't what it was. Back in the old days when I lived down in that neighborhood, what was it called? It was the Russian and Turkish baths. And I don't know if they're still in business. And it wasn't a it wasn't a prostitution outlet, but it wasn't not a prostitution outlet. It was different. It was massage. It's, what could be more what could be more innocent? What if you have a sports injury? How do you expect to get better without a massage? Don't know. Yeah, so here's Elon. Direct line to the White House. Obviously, the Doge thing didn't work perfectly, but that doesn't mean that he's not involved. You know, a lot of people say, well, we won that battle because Elon had to leave with his tail between his legs. And that is not entirely true because one of the things that Elon and his his acolytes, who we refer to affectionately as Doge bags, they of course rework the systems in such a way that Elon can access any of the government databases that he needs to at any time if Donald Trump needs help. So that should be from a technical support perspective. That must be very comforting to each and every one of you, knowing that you have Trump falling asleep, clearly a diminished human being. Tomorrow's his birthday. We do not wish ill health on any other human being, right? But imagine the stress of he doesn't care about humans like a normal human being should, but it doesn't mean that he isn't under stress. You know, he has his family to worry about, and that's about it. But think about over one shoulder, he has Vladimir Putin or one of his associates, he or she, whispering over one shoulder, and Elon Musk over the other. And what's a boy to do? And he doesn't have the mental acuity anymore to manage the complexities of these relationships that he is now a part of, and he has to, you know, the old quote from Mark Twain that is, I'm going to screw this up, but if you tell the truth, you never have to. Well, whatever. What the general idea is, I should remember that. But if you're telling the truth, it's a low stress environment because you never have to remember anything, right? That's close to the quote, but you get my idea. That if you're telling the truth, only the truth, nothing but the truth, which we're all human, right? We all f up. But if you're doing that on a regular basis and you have to recall back to something that happened 2 weeks ago, and they said, "Well, why did you do that?" And you're telling the truth. You don't have to have a great memory. It's just you're a good human. You made good decisions in good faith, keeping in mind the people that you work for, which is that's the American people. And Donald Trump, on the other hand, is a wholly or partially owned asset of Russian state security, beholden in some way to Elon Musk, but that's more of a corrupt connection. Ding, Thursday episode. And all the other things that are going on, including declining health, which, as a 79 and 364-day-old man, um, you think about, obviously, he's thinking about his mortality because he's doing all that arch, name on the Kennedy Center. Why don't you just build your own? I mean, he's doing it with the arch. If he's allowed to arch, that he's allowed to go through with it. I'm just, trying to steal the glory of John F. Kennedy is whatever, if you put your name all over it and you murder somebody in front of the building, it's never going to be yours, right? Everybody's going to just look at it and say, Donnie from fucking Queens tried to steal the glory from an actual war hero. You know, that's always how it's going to be. If it was going to be the Kennedy Center, but he may complete the arch. He may emblazon his name on it, and we will have to look at it for some period of time until a politician has enough sack to tear the thing down. But we will await that. Um, the only other small Elon Musk item I will leave you with, and I will leave you because it's the weekend after all. It is a beautiful evening in northern Massachusetts. At about 90 degrees, it was earlier. Pretty toasty. Not Miami hot, but Massachusetts pretty hot. Doug was not pleased. Data centers taking the momentum from the IPO. What has to happen if, you know, call it a bubble, don't call it a comeback, do whatever you want to do with AI. If AI is going to flourish, you need the data centers somewhere, somehow, or an alternative uh, source of energy. Things that are all down the road. And as we talked about in about a couple weeks ago, part of the one of my earlier Sunday stratagems, Saturday stratagems, was what was the big lie that was going to allow the Zuckerberg, Musk, Bezos, all those guys to get enough data centers in the ground in order to make AI to fulfill the promise that it has. Right? We still don't know. There are always bumps on the road, and we don't know all the answers to anything on any given day. Except we know that without the energy and the water, it won't happen. That's for certain, right? So they will they will do whatever they can do out of desperation to get 5 years out. Just they're looking right now and they've got 2.5 years left of Trump time. Right. So they've got to maximize it then because by the grace of all that's good in the world, we'll have or the progressives will have a shot at cleaning up some things, but there's still going to be probably a majority in the Senate in at the next general elections after you know in after 28. It'll be there ain't going to be even with a blue wave. It's going to be tough because of everything that the Supreme Court did and Louisiana v. Calais, etc. So we have to plan it. This is going to be a long fight. And I just know because I know the lying sacks of shit and greedy MFs that we're dealing with, that they're going to make a case to the American people and more importantly for them, to members of Congress, that if they don't allow the tech bros to get over the hump on AI, then all is lost. The world will end because China will beat us, and then we're all subjects to the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, that will be a version of the argument, right? That'll be the Ted Cruz of the argument. The the petroleum jelly king himself, the Lindsey Graham argument, right? That if we don't do this, China's gonna win. If China wins, it has to be, it's for them, it's binary. That gets uncomfortable when I start thinking about Lindsey Graham. That if China wins, we lose, and we lose in a disgusting and horrible way, which isn't necessarily the case. Cooler heads that make a plan, work together, and put some safety into the AI build out, and it'll be just fine. It'll be just another technology. There will be winners and losers, and we'll all get through it. It doesn't have to be World War III. Trump may get us there before that point. Excuse me. But for tonight's purposes, my Saturday stratagem is modified. That there will be arguments by Musk and others that the only way that they can get to the promise of data centers in space, which is guaranteed to work fine, almost, that is to allow them to build them on the ground. We just need 2 more years, and we'll be clear, we'll be clean, we'll be good, we'll be in space, generating our own. We don't even need to come back. It'll be great. We'll pay you billions, and everybody will be fine. Which, of course, it doesn't work that way. But that's what will, if they've been given the free pass now to blow through the concerns of property owners and taxpayers in many states, many southern states particularly, and they're going ahead and building the data centers and saying, DJT said it was fine, so we're going to build it. It's like, yeah, well, we're going to have a town. You go have a town meeting, but we're building the fucking thing. Call the White House. So that's going to happen 700 times over around the country. And, there will be water supplies that will be destroyed. There will be energy prices, 3, 4, 5x what they are now. Not everywhere. It's not the same story. And I can't, if I was an electrical engineer, then I'd be wrong too, because nobody can project the exact drain, because on the other side, there will be, efficiencies in power generation, efficiencies in AI center operations in such a way, efficiencies, call it, efficiencies uh, of scale, right? That will happen, but nobody can project when and by how much. And then the about what am I about 16 miles north of Logan Airport in Boston, plus or minus. Busy around Boston because Boston is one of the hubs for the World Cup. I almost, just before I got on, I checked the scores because I may have accidentally took a little position with Monaco over Brazil because I got a really good number, and Brazil has some fault lines in the team that they don't normally have. But Brazil had tied it back up. I don't know what the ultimate score is. If you've been watching and you see that Monaco came back and beat Brazil, then by tomorrow I may have started drinking again because it would be a good result. The number turned out to be I don't remember. I eventually found a number that was uh, 29, something like that. It was a good number. Yeah. So World Cup, greed, Elon, data centers in space. It was always there was this the way that it was explained was it was essentially going to be like a Death Star, this giant thing that was going to exist out there and be able to beam information back and forth and get all of its power from the sun. Some little hiccups like no water sources in space, right? There is there is a cooling system that's very much it's called a radiator. People think of a radiator as generating heat, but that simple mechanical process can heat or cool a system, right? So you can like you look at the back of an old school refrigerator. There are coils and there is fluid, chemical fluid, ammonia fluid moving it at high rates of speed and cooling the chips, etc. And it can be done. But it seems that the physicists now say that it's more likely that we will have swarms of smaller data. I won't call them data centers. Call them larger satellites that function as data centers. It sounds great. It's Buck Rogers. It's the Jetsons. It's all that fun stuff. It's futuristic and it will happen in some period of time. Right? The number of I think that Blue Origin's uh, um Bezos is going to compete with Musk for have a competing satellite internet company, right? It'll take some time, but they're talking about, they're getting, they're not requesting permits. They're just doing things because it's Trump. But like, oh yeah, this year we're going to put 18,000 more satellites into space. But then you think, I mean, I'm going to say some really dumb things. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a NASA scientist, but I study a bunch. You've got forget about geosynchronous, right? Think about an Earth like ours is don't ask mega. It's round and it rotates on its axis, right? As it's rotating on its axis, I hope you're sitting down. It is also orbiting the sun. Two things at the same time. One fixed, right? One variable. So you have, and then you have these satellites turned into data centers with those long booms that are solar panels that are going to power these things. And then they have to orbit the Earth, outer orbit, staying cooler, staying out of the some of the more dangerous forces in the universe that might damage these expensive toys. And at the same time, and in some of these cases, in order to, I mean, there's batteries that can store the solar power, but the battery tech is not quite there yet. So they will perhaps set these swarms of satellites to orbit the Earth in such a way to always be inside of the sun. So they're gathering the power that they need to operate 24/7. I mean, it seems complicated to me and maybe to you, but you can visualize, right? All the all those beautiful pictures that came back from Artemis about the sun and the relationship to the moon and and Earth and other planets. It's pretty inspiring. But you can picture it. You're like, okay, so these satellites, all 1,000 of them over a big surface, are traveling together in a cluster, following the Earth's rotation. So staying within the uh, in contact with the sun's energy, right? So fine. We're not the only operators up there. So then you have Xi Jinping has a cluster, right? And then Mr. Putin is rejuvenating the having his own Sputnik moment, and so he has a little cluster going, and then South Korea, and then Japan, and you know how it goes. So all of a sudden, in will I be around? Yeah, I plan to stick around for a little bit. So in 10 years or better, we might have sustainable data centers on at a scale to make it economically viable to do so. At the same time, we can, if you live out in the sticks where I am, you can see the stars at night are very bright. I'm far enough out of Boston that it's very dark at night in certain parts. Lots of woods. You can see coyotes. You can see lots of other things. So the dog doesn't go with me. Yeah, but what you will see instead of stars, or in addition to stars, are clusters of satellites interrupting your fucking view of the night sky. That's our future. That's what's going to happen because it's the most efficient and economical model in 10 to 15 to 20 years to manage that need. Now, there will be advances in science out the yin yang every year. AI will think of more, clever ways to do the same thing in a more efficient. And maybe everything will be buried under the earth, gathering energy from geothermal forces. I don't know. Then I will be gone by then. I will be adios muchacho and well down the road by then. In any case, so that is Elon Musk, constant, still an asshole, a very rich one, right? So we can acknowledge the tremendous accomplishment. You don't make spaceships that return to Earth and land on their ass and then repeat it over and over again unless you're really smart. I mean, he doesn't do it himself, but surrounding yourself by the right people to you know, in direct contrast with his homeboy Donald Trump, who surrounds himself with inferior people because he can't stand to not look like the smartest guy in the room at all times. And that's exactly it's hubris on the part of Trump. Elon, it's genius and ketamine, right? So I've never dabbled with either of those two things. But I'll wish you all a beautiful night and thank you. And this went on way too long, but it's cool out. It's beautiful. The mosquitoes, because it's only June and not July, they're not as big as the satellite yet, so it's manageable. Thank you, and kindly restack, retweet, and subscribe. Send any questions, comments within the. I've been getting lots of replies in the feed, and I try to keep up with each and every one of them. Sometimes, like today, I got behind, but tomorrow, Sunday, I'll get caught up a little bit. I appreciate comments, suggestions, uh, you know, uh, love of Red Sox, envy if Monaco came back and beat Brazil, which is so unlikely. But that's why I thought I was getting a good number on that. The USA, very, very good. You beat any team from any any South American country 4-0. You're good. Paraguay, not not the greatest distinction that Paraguay currently has. I haven't. That's one country I haven't been in Paraguay, but it's one of the countries that makes up the tri-border region in South America, right? So that is Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil. Why is that important? Because that's one of the largest training centers for Hezbollah outside of the Middle East. So, fun fact. And I don't know what they've been training for. I don't know what they've been doing. They've been there for 40 years, something like that. As I mentioned before, Venezuela has a not a large, but they have a notable Lebanese expatriate population in Venezuela. Delightful people, make better coffee than you and I ever will. Right? There is Hezbollah activity in Venezuela because Nicolas Maduro and other groups have worked with Hezbollah to in human smuggling and drug trafficking, which are two wonderful cash businesses. If you get a job offer, uh, will that be a job that will suffer from AI? Less so, because it's person to person. It's very mano a mano. Yeah. So thank you again. Have a beautiful night, and we will maybe catch up tomorrow, if not definitely Monday. Monday, which would be much later, probably. But thank you, and we'll catch up with you soon.